YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, back in Total War Warhammer 2, and I apologize, it's been not enough online battles recently, just been a busy week. So here we go though, let's jump in. I've had a viewer, Jimbo Slice here, who wanted to send in some Wood Elf replays and kind of show off something that he thought was a little different, show the pluses and minuses of it. So let's check out his Wood Elf army. I'm going to slow things down a little bit. He's mostly just got some Eternal Guards up front. There are some Azrae Spear. And then we've got Orion leading the army. Well, Orion is unbreakable, and he's got an ability that gives him a lot of physical resistance at the very end of his hit points. I think it's when he's like below 20% or something like that. It's when he gets real low. He actually gets even tankier, and of course he still has the bound spells, the Hounds and the Bombardment, and those can be pretty nice. Now he's got the Winter Heart Guards here too, which is also unbreakable, and this is on purpose. He's got 2 unbreakable units in the center, and he said that this is intentional because he hopes to blob up an opponent and use those bound spells to good effect since they do damage to infantry blobs. You can see he's supporting with Wild Riders. He's got the Hawkeyes of Drakira here, which is a Waywatcher Regiment of Renown, and right off the bat they start shooting up some skink skirmishers. The Lizardmen over here are led by Kroq-Gar on Grimlock. We've got a Saurus Scar Veteran, a Temple Guard, a Saurus Warrior, some skink cohorts, and a couple of Cold One Spear Riders, as well as the Skink Chief up top. So let's see how this battle plays out. I actually think against the Lizardmen that the I wasn't a big fan of the Wood Elves against the Lizardmen, though I do think if they're played properly, the Wood Elves do have a chance. But earlier on in Warhammer 2, right after the Mortal Empires, I didn't feel like the Wood Elves had a fighting chance at all versus the Lizardmen. You could basically just spam Saurus Warriors, and that's the end of it. And I still think that that would be tough for the Wood Elves to deal with, very tough, if you just cranked out Saurus Warriors with shields, basically. It would be very difficult to take down. Let's check this out here. Maybe some bombardment coming in from Orion, dealing with the skink skirmishers. Let's just kind of see how the engagement unfolds. Orion also does do massive armor-piercing damage with the throwing spears that he's got. So if he gets within range of an enemy for long enough, he can do a lot of damage. See Kroq-Gar running off. He takes a couple of pretty nasty hits there. And then the Spellsinger Lure of Life, he's also got Dwellers below, again, in case there's an infantry blob opportunity. Over here, unfortunately for him, his Hawkeyes and Drakira get caught up with Cold One Spear Riders, and it is not a good thing. So he loses a very expensive Regiment of Renown unit here. His Eternal Guard's putting up a decent fight, though. And then here comes that Dwellers below, and the Lizardmen might be dragged down into the depths with all of these angry tree roots. Let's see what kind of damage it did. It sure does look cool. It did get nerfed. You can see here again, against an infantry blob, it did considerable damage. It took these units way down from where they were at. And the Lizardman player has made a strange and odd decision here to just chase a Wild Rider, whereas one of these units would have been plenty to deal with the Wild Rider. He's chasing with both Carnosaur mounted heroes, which is an utter waste of resources at this point, especially considering you got a Waywatcher back here going unchallenged. And this other one regrouped, but it's going to get run down by Spear Riders. But you can see over here that Dwellers below turned that into a close fight, whereas it would have otherwise been a quick loss. So now there are some Saurus Warriors and some Temple Guards that are probably trying to avoid fights here and there. And then I missed this Stegodon earlier. There is the Stegodon here in the center. He's getting targeted by the Waywatchers. The Waywatchers will do solid damage. And Orion, I've noticed, does some pretty dang good infantry damage. Seems like he has good splash damage, as you can see with the headless lizards flying around everywhere. He's got like a bow on his back too. He should be able to use the bow also. That'd be awesome. Anyway, Orion's going to be doing a bunch of damage. The 2 mounted heroes of the Lizardmen finally come back from chasing a Wild Rider, only to fight the Wild Rider back here. You can see the Waywatcher kind of turning its fire towards Kroq-Gar, which makes sense. Not sure why he used the swiftness of Eitzel there when he's not trying to escape. Yeah, a lot of strange mistakes here from the Lizardman player. But not necessarily the mistakes of the Lizardmen that makes me want to show this. I more so wanted you all to see Orion and kind of talk through why it is this this player submitted this one, because obviously a ton of people don't play the Wood Elves. That was a pretty cool shot, actually. Kroq-Gar took one in the butt right there. Boy, so did Orion, too. That was a nasty shot from someone. It's that Skink Chief. Look at that. He's got an arm on him. He's also got some poisonous darts in his back. But in any case, yeah, it's Orion's unbreakable. You can use that to your advantage. And again, he's much tankier than most people account for. And he is doing some solid damage here. Look at the damage he's inflicting on Kroq-Gar from a decent distance, too. He's 20% missile resistant as well. So Orion does have some missile resistance. Here you can see the Winterheart Guard. They're unbreakable. Quite nice in terms of trying to wear down the Temple Guards. Stegodon's going to buy the farm, and the Skink Chief is now taking a lot of damage in its desperate attempt to take out a Spellsinger. And the Way Watchers do tremendous damage here as well. So keeping the one Way Watcher alive was enough to deal with most of the large units from the Lizardmen. The Scar Veteran's still very much alive out here, but now under fire from the regrouped Hawkeyes, who have still managed to pick up 46 kills somehow, despite all of the challenge. Cold-blooded on Kroq-Gar is not doing much good because he's standing within range of the Way Watchers. Looks like he's going to try and move off, but this battle's over. Looks like Orion was pretty much able to deal the damage. So again, worked out good in this case because the Lizardmen picked an army that it could work against. They made an infantry blob mistake with some of their skink cohorts. They mismicroed a few of their leaders. And then, of course, the tankiness of Orion and his damage capabilities here makes this work out pretty nice. Obviously, this army won't work out great in every situation. And I'll show you a replay that helps highlight that. The submitting player here, Jimbo Slice, wanted you all to kind of get a feel for why he liked this army, where it turns out to be quite useful or fun, and then when it gets more challenging. Woo! Let's watch Orion try and hunt down some lizards here. Man, look at that! Guy has an arm. Way Watchers. Wow. Later, Skinky. Yeah, so there's no... Kroq-Gar can't stay away from the battle here. And I'm not sure what the Lizardmen's... He may be trying to micro over here against the Hawkeyes and some of these other units. Looks like both players made just a couple mistakes here and there. But Orion's just sitting here unloading on Kroq-Gar, who's not being microed. And he's doing some damage. Now the Way Watchers are in range. Yeah, I don't know what the Lizardmen was moving. Like I said, definitely some mistakes here. Not trying to say that this Wood Elf build is invincible by any means. Clearly there were lots of mistakes here by the Lizardmen player, but I think you all get the drift of what's trying to be done here with Orion. Let's see if Orion can hunt him a beast. Man, that's a cool looking fight. I'm not gonna lie, you got Orion going head to head here with Kroq-Gar. How about that for an ending scene? Look at that, Grimlock posing for the camera. Anyway, I got another replay for you. Let's load into that one. And it is going to be right down here. So he came up against Zablaski, and Zablaski picks against the Wood Elves a lot of cavalry. I've seen this more than once from Empire players and pretty much any faction who can field heavy cavalry. So your build from the Wood Elves is pretty much the same. You got your Wild Riders, your Hawkeyes, your Azray Spear, Eternal Guard, Winterheart Guard, Orion. Yeah, so it's pretty much the same build. But if you look at the build from the High Elves here, they've got their own long-range archers, which are going to be far more cost-effective than Way Watchers in terms of a skirmish fight, right? Then there's a line of White Lions. Why White Lions? Well, they have some armor, and quite honestly, most infantry for the Wood Elves is crap at killing armor. So it actually makes this one scenario where White Lions might be pretty good. Techless, because he's great magic support, and he can heal and do a lot of other stuff. And then Dragon Princes, because with their actually I don't think they're yeah, they're not anti-large, so, but Dragon Princes with their high armor are going to be very difficult for the Wood Elves to deal with. They deal heavy charge damage, and they're heavily armored, shielded. It just makes them a difficult unit for Wood Elves to deal with, and that's why a lot of times with the Empire, you'll see a huge spam of Empire Knights or Reichsguard, and it becomes extremely difficult for the Wood Elves to deal with. Check this out. This is both a beautiful and a terrifying scene if you are a Wood Elf. Oh, I don't even think they had the charge order there. There's the Azray Spear. But the Azray Spear aren't going to do well while being charged as well. They need to be held back in reserve after the charge takes place. Here the Dragon Princes are going to get some regrowth, which is going to help them. You're going to see these Dragon Princes push right on into the Hawkeyes of Drakira. Orion comes and does his thing and gets into a melee fight. And again, you can see him do tremendous splash damage to some of these units. He's going to try and cause an infantry blob, but the High Elf player doesn't entirely fall for this infantry blob. Not every unit goes after Orion, but you better believe the archers have started, some of them at least, to target him. The other archers in the background are trying to rid themselves of Weight Watchers, which is a great choice. And just look at the range on these standard archers. Almost as much as the Weight Watchers and very much cheaper, less than half the cost. Some of the Dragon Princes take some damage here in certain engagements, like this one gets pinned down with a bunch of Spearmen and Wild Riders, but on the other flank, the Dragon Princes have been very successful, utterly destroying a War Dancer with Azrae's Spear. And that leaves Orion here in the middle. He just used his Hound ability out here, which got him some of his 52 kills, but I mean, that's a lot of kills. He's clearly capable of getting in here and picking up some kills. Look at this archer right there. He's so lucky he didn't just get beheaded. Look at the damage, the splash damage that Orion does. So you can see why he's good against infantry blobs. And that's exactly what is being used here. And you can see the Spell Singer trying to support him with some healing or other spells. You could always use the Dwellers Below along with Orion's bound spells, and you'd be able to do terrible damage if someone's foolish enough to get all blobbed up on infantry. But you can see the Dragon Princes here causing significant trouble for the Wood Elves. These poor saps. See you in the next life. Have a good flight. Look at that. Just flattened them. It's gonna be gruesome. So yeah, there you go. That's gonna be one of your biggest challenges as the Wood Elves, is dealing with heavy cavalry. Heavy cavalry with high charge is just difficult to deal with. Whoa, did you guys just see that animation from Orion? That was sick. Stabbed that guy and then picked him up off his spear. Look, he did it again. Oh, it's gruesome. But now he's gonna get hit by a bunch of Dragon Princes. Not necessarily the kind of fight that Orion wants to be in. He does anti-large damage though, so there's his Hounds. Again, he's using it on the blob, and it gets him a lot of kills. Orion will be well over 100 kills now. So he's a much more dangerous unit than some people think, because they're not used to seeing him on the battlefield. And watch, as he gets towards the end of his hit points here, yes, he has regrowth going, but he's also got a special ability. Let me show you what it is. Yeah, it's the regrowth. There's the frenzy. It's one of these. Yeah, right here. Cloak of Isha replenishes hit points of combatants. It's used on himself, and it gives him 44 damage resistance as long as he's below 20%. So again, it just makes him really start tanking out damage. So if you get him close to dead, but you don't quite have enough to finish him, he'll just get tankier at the end, right? So that's going to be the thing with Orion, is that you might think you have him on the ropes, but if you don't get him finished, wow, that charge. So he's not going to survive this one. Ironic that the Wood Elf Lord is going to fall to a hail of arrows here. Somewhat ironic, I guess. Yeah, Unbreakable, you can see that taking effect here too, but Orion's going to go down. So again, there's a major weakness of this army type, is heavy cavalry, and Zablaski played very well against it. Well picked. He knows that cheap archers of the High Elves are going to trade good against the more expensive archers of the Wood Elves, and then he brings the heavy cavalry, which the Wood Elves have a hard time stopping. This is one of the reasons why I think the Wood Elves, in my opinion at least, are a pretty low tier faction. Unless you're a highly skilled player that's quite good at using them, I think they're a pretty low tier faction overall, just because of the struggles they have. I mean, you think about it right there, range isn't even something they're really good at. Against certain factions they are, right? Against certain factions, but against the High Elves, the Wood Elves have a difficult time keeping pace in the range fight, because your standard High Elf archers can come with 180 range. And then you can get Lothern Sea Guard, who are shielded, somewhat armored, and have spears to fight back with. Again, just ends up being more cost efficient than what you're going to come out with the Wood Elves, who are much more of a glass cannon. And you've got to try some different tricks with them. But hopefully you all enjoyed this one. Like I said, wasn't something that I wanted to bring out to y'all to demonstrate that, yep, all players use perfect gameplay. Nope. This was just something that I thought you all would enjoy. Hey, if you're going to play Wood Elves, you should try out Orion every now and then. I think Jimbo Slice makes a good point here. Fun unit. There's some fun synergies, the way he used them with the Winterheart Guard, which is another unbreakable unit. Again, just an interesting synergy to bring up and to try and create blobs so that you can take advantage of your opponent. But again, if they don't fall for it or they pick the right army, like right here, Zablasky gets a pretty solid victory. It says valiant defeat. They got beat pretty bad in the end because there's a lot of high elves. And I'm not saying that to be mean. He submitted it. Obviously, he wanted you all to see this. And I thought that was kind of cool that a player who came up with the build that they liked also demonstrated that it has a weakness. So, or many weaknesses in that case. So I hope you all enjoyed that. Appreciate Jimbo Slice submitting it. And you all leave your comments and your thoughts. If you enjoyed it, go hit the like button. It helps me a lot. It helps people find this video and helps other people get a chance to come enjoy the videos. And if you want to see more, hit the subscribe button and click the bell so that you get notified of the next videos. Anyway, HeirofCarthage signing out. Hey, guess what? I'll be back with more soon. So I will see you there.